Welcome back to another episode of the Elevate Podcast from Burnout to Bliss. I'm Reginald Clark.
And I'm Ebony Clark.
And today we're kicking off a special Black History Month episode titled Built from Scratch, How Black Entrepreneurs Created Wealth with Limited Access. This conversation is for everyone who's felt behind, overlooked, or under-resourced. Because the truth is, our history is filled with people who didn't have the capital, didn't have the connections, and definitely didn't have the support, but they built anyway.
They turned skills into businesses, side hustles into legacies, and obstacles into opportunities.
Today, we're unpacking the lessons they left us: resourcefulness, ownership, community, and the courage to start before you feel ready.
Because elevation doesn't require perfect conditions.
It requires a decision. So if you've been waiting on the right time, this episode is for you. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Man. Every time I hear that song, it really takes me to a place that, you just gotta know. It's one of those, I don't use that often, but if you know, then you know.
And we couldn't kick off Black History Month without playing Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Yeah, man. It speaks deeply. But anyway, this episode, guys, we're so excited as always to be back here with you to spend just the next few minutes. Today, we're going to be talking about, as you heard in the intro, we're going to be talking about built from scratch, again, how Black entrepreneurs created wealth with limited access, man. And some things have changed. We do have more access. We're going to talk about that. However, it's still limited compared to some of our counterparts. But we're going to look at, because here's the thing that I want to frame out very early in this episode. I think Black History Month is as much about looking back at what other people have already done, but also shining a light on the history being made right now.
Correct. I love those shirts that say, I am Black History.
Yeah.
Because at some point, someone is going to look back at the things that we are continuing to do.
That's exactly right. And when the books are written, each one of us should be striving to do something to where your name, your accomplishments will be mentioned alongside some of the greats that we always talk about when we talk about Black history. But Black history is a living history.
It is. And I want to add that when we go back and look at the names of all these amazing people that did amazing things, they didn't set out to say, I'm going to make history. I'm going to be in the book for someone to read my name later on. They were doing what we do, which is do what we need to do.
That's exactly right, man. That's exactly right. They were they were making it happen.
They were making it happen. They were pushing limits, breaking barriers, but they were doing it with the mindset of, I'm doing what I need to do. And
they had to do it, guys. So again, this is where we're going today. They had to do it despite some very significant and systemic barriers, some of which still exist, but some of them, by the grace of God and the blood, sweat, and tears of those who've gone before us, some of them have been completely eradicated. Yes. Others have been diminished greatly. So, but regardless of where we find ourselves on this timeline of achievement, we all have a part to play. So let's dig in and see what part we got to play today. So when I think about Black history, and again, from the entrepreneur perspective, like we just talked about, it's a living history. People, everybody that know me know that I love history. I love dates and figures, and just even from my childhood, just learning about what happened before I got here. But today, I want to focus more on the living history. And like I said, think about when they write their next chapter, will I be included? Will my colleagues be included? My friends? My business associates, those of us that's out here swinging every day at the ball, trying to get a hit. So that's where we are right now. So
we mentioned that, of course, there were barriers to us starting businesses historically. And some of those, again, we still have some we don't, or not as much. But one of the barriers was limited access to capital and banking. So Black entrepreneurs are far less likely to secure business loans even today than their peers. And some studies show that only 13% of Black-owned business loan applications were funded, compared to a greater number with other groups.
Yeah, well, in addition to the funding part of the access, is just access to banking in general. There's a difference there. Limited access to capital and banking has profoundly disproportionately affected African Americans, and what happens is it becomes a structural barrier to wealth accumulation, economic mobility, all of that. Right. As a matter of fact, I saw a stat that said as late as 2023, 10% or more of Black households lack basic checking or savings accounts, compared to only 2% of white households.
Man, give me those percentages again.
10% or more of Black households don't even have basic checking or savings account. I want to take this as an opportunity to say something too. I have seen an over-reliance by Black people on these internet banks, these things like Cash App and Chime, and you're doing your banking there. But here's the thing about it. That's just pure transactional type banking, guys. You're not building a relationship with an individual who has the ability to loan you money that you can use to buy real estate, to start a business or what have you. I'm still a firm believer that it's very important that you walk inside of a branch somewhere, get to know these people so they can get to know you,
right,
and do more traditional. Now, it's good to have these things as matters of convenience, but I'm still a believer that you need relationship banking.
Right. You still need a relationship with a bank and a branch that you can walk into and talk to a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, but I just threw that in there when I saw that stat right there.
So that kind of leads me to something else when we were talking about banking and lending. Not only are loan applications not approved in the same rate, but a lot of times Black entrepreneurs are disproportionately discouraged from even applying for credit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because of expected bias or negative experiences that they've heard from others or experienced themselves. That's
exactly right. I remember I used to teach a class for the Rise Foundation here in Memphis, and I remember one of the classes we taught was about banking, and this was for adults, not youth or what have you. And the question I remember I asked was, how many people here have ever been into a bank? Very few hands went up, but I got to tell you, I was completely shocked. And so I wanted to explore that thing, and so I said, well, let's get down to the reasons why. And there was actually, what was communicated to me was there was a fear of going into banks because it seems scary. It's real quiet and it seems like everybody's looking at you. And, these are some things, I was going in banks with my mom as far back as I can remember. So it wasn't that wasn't my introduction to the banking system, but that's not everybody's experience. So again, when we talk about moving the needle forward with our community, banking is going to be a big, big part of that, traditional banking.
And I will say that with everything, there's growth and moving forward. So the current, and that fear is maybe why people rely on banking with Cash App and Chime and internet banks, because it's not, you don't have to go in anywhere, and it's not a fear of, oh, what do I say when I go in?
Exactly.
But I will say that that's a step forward from us cashing our checks at the liquor store. So let's continue on that trajectory to make people comfortable with traditional banking.
I'll agree. It is a step forward. However, when people are getting their entire tax refund check put on one of these accounts, and they're using it, and you're paying these very exorbitant transaction charges or what have you, it's almost the same as getting the cash at the liquor check. It's like at the liquor store. It's like a digital liquor store. So it's a step forward. However, you should not be paying per transaction to use your money. You shouldn't be paying 5%, 3% to cash your check. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. You're just giving money away to people because of whatever's preventing you from going to get just a regular checking account, regular savings account at a regular bank. You're just giving extra money away, and you need to stop it. I'm just pure and simple. But I want to keep going. I wanted to jump back. Well, I want to finish the conversation first on some of those barriers. Did you have another barrier you wanted to discuss on that?
We talked about discrimination in lending, but that also created discrimination in housing and employment. And we've talked about in previous episodes how home ownership is one of the best wealth builders.
Ain't no doubt about it.
So if we've been discriminated against home ownership, that definitely affects our wealth.
Let's talk about why it affects our wealth. The reason home ownership affects your wealth, people, is because if you don't own the home, you can't build equity. Equity is your ownership in that property. Equity is the primary driver of wealth in the United States. Let me say it again. Equity is the primary driver of wealth in the U.S. As a matter of fact, 2022, the black ownership rate was roughly about 45%. Compared to 75% for white households. And you got to think about this. If equity wasn't that important, why would they have ever discriminated discriminated against us on it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. People use equity to send their kids to school, to, start businesses, to do a lot of different things that lead to more wealth.
Correct.
But when you can, and so here's the thing too, especially for my younger listeners, if it's in, hopefully some of this gets out to younger listeners. And I know right now interest rates being where they are, that's kept a lot of potential buyers on the sidelines. But when you choose to rent, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, do not say you're renting because you can't afford to own a home. If you're renting, you are buying a home. You're just not buying it for yourself. Mm-hmm. You're buying it for the owner. Not only are you buying that person's home for them, you're paying for your own maintenance, you're paying for your upkeep, you're paying the taxes, the insurance, and you're paying the profit that person wants to charge. You're paying all of that in the form of your rent. So don't say you can't afford to own. You just choosing not to for whatever reasons. But I'm just throwing that out there. You can afford to own a home, and keep in mind that ownership is going to be a direct correlation to the wealth you're going to be building down through the years.
And I want to add something about the interest rates being high. Yes, the interest rates are higher than what we were used to 8-9 years ago.
Right.
However, they are what they are. Mm-hmm. And what they are, the interest rate is what the interest rate is for everyone within a certain range. Mm-hmm. So don't let the interest rate keep you out of home ownership because it's not worth the opportunity that you're missing out on to build equity, to wait on the interest rates to go down.
That's exactly right.
And then there are options. Once the interest rates go down, there are options.
Refinance.
But don't stay out of the game because you're waiting on the interest rate to get to this magic number.
Right. I mean, you can always refinance. I tell people, typically, this is not a hard line rule, but typically it makes sense to refinance every time the interest rate drop a full percentage point. Usually it makes sense to refinance just the outstanding balance. Mm-hmm.
So just another barrier I wanted to add was reliance on self-funding and community support. Because of the discrimination in lending, a lot of times we had to rely on our own money or money from our friends and family to start a business. Or personal savings or credit cards. So that affected how we start businesses as well.
Which and I think we'll talk about why we tended to lean toward more service-oriented business because it required less capital.
Exactly.
So I want to jump back and talk about, because the title of this episode was built from scratch, or is built from scratch. And I really wanted to dig a little more, so I'm going back up just a little bit, more into what that means in the Black experience for many in the Black community. Building from scratch meant, kind of like what Ebony just said, was beginning without inheritance, building without connections, starting at zero, and for some people actually below zero. It implied building a livelihood, business, or life after intentionally being excluded from the accumulation of assets that were available to others. Mm-hmm. And as we prepare for this episode, I thought about a story that a lot of us are familiar with, but I'm going to give a little more insight that what people may just know off the top of their head, and that's the whole concept behind 40 Acres and a Mule. Mm-hmm. That's one of many, but one of the very first broken promises that the government made. And here's the thing so just go with me for a little bit. This is at the end of the Civil War. The promise was a field order. Mm-hmm. It was actually not it never came from the office of the president. Okay. It was from a general. That general was General Sherman. That was his name. But anyway, this was the first systemic attempt to provide some form of reparations to the formerly enslaved people. So what had happened was the Union had confiscated over 400,000 acres of land that formerly belonged to Confederates. And what many people don't know is that the idea, when that general actually met with some Black ministers and asked them, what is the best way, what is the best thing we can do for Black people at this point? So the idea of the ownership, we're going back to ownership, the idea of the ownership came from those Black ministers. Because what they said was, if we own our own land, we'll take care of the rest. Mm-hmm. And so what he said was, okay, we'll take this 400,000 acres that we have, and this is over in Georgia and the South Carolina area, and we'll give everybody 40 acres. The mule wasn't actually a part of the original promise. That came later. But everybody would get 40 acres, families would get 40 acres plus a mule, and they said, hey, with that, we can get going. Mm-hmm. And not only were they going to be given the land, they were also going to be given complete government over this land. They were going to be communities, the whole nine. But what happened was, and some people were actually granted that. So some people say, well, nobody actually ever got it. That's not true. Some people got it. But what ended up happening was when President Lincoln was killed, Andrew Johnson was the vice president, who's from Tennessee, a Southern guy from Tennessee. He came and said, oh, no, that dog ain't going to hunt. He immediately stopped that, gave the Confederates their land back, and that was the end of that ordeal right there. But that's where the 40 acres and a mule came from, because those people understood way back then that ownership of the land had wealth associated with it.
Wow.
Right? Even way back then. So guys, you got to dig into and not run away from owning. And we're going to talk about the benefits of ownership a little later on in the episode. But I just wanted to drop that out there because, I love history, and I think that's one of those things people need to know even more if you didn't already.
Definitely. And to your point, Black people are so resilient, and like Reggie said, they understood that ownership was key. But we have always been able to take nothing and turn it into something. As early as the 1700s, when Black townships were established across the United States, both freed and enslaved African Americans started businesses based on what was needed.
Right. Way back then.
Right. Shoemakers and barbers and hairdressers and tailors, all of that, even while we were enslaved. So if they can do it back then, what's stopping you from doing it now?
And they actually ended up creating what was known as a parallel economy because they were excluded from the white economy.
Right.
So they created their own economy. And so, guys, hey, like Eb said, if they can do it then with limited education, limited knowledge, limited resources, just pure resilience, then what's stopping you right now? So, guys, stay with us as we go to this commercial break. Looking forward to bringing you more. Remember, guys, it's time to elevate.
This episode of the Elevate Podcast is brought to you by P3 Wealth Management, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Tennessee. Whether you're investing, preparing for retirement, or creating a lasting legacy, our team is here to guide you every step of the way. At P3 Wealth Management, we turn your financial goals into a strategy, so you can focus on living the life you worked hard for. Visit p3wealth.com to schedule your consultation today, or call us at 901-209-4015. That's p3wealth.com. Plan, protect, and prosper.
This is the Elevate Podcast with Reginald and Ebony Clark, and today we are talking about being built from scratch, how Black entrepreneurs created wealth with limited access.
That's right.
If you missed segment 1, the key takeaway was that our ancestors did not wait for permission. They worked with what they had.
They sure did. And I want to just segue from that first segment and just give, I don't want to bore anybody with a bunch of stats, but I got 4 stats I want to give you just to let you know, guys, we are charging forward. All right? This, you see a couple of people doing this, doing that, but as a collective, we are charging forward. Listen to this. Check this out. Black-owned employer businesses. So these are businesses that got some employees.
Okay.
In the U.S., experienced a significant surge, growing by over 50% between 2017 and 2022. All right? There's a rapid growth rate. So from 2017 to 22, those businesses increased by 57% with the average growth rate of almost 10%. So not only are the number of them increasing, their growth rate is increasing. The gross revenue from Black-owned firms rose by 66% between that same time period, 2017 to 2022, reaching an estimated $211 billion. Would it be? All right. And the last one, Black-owned firms have shown high resilience even back during the pandemic, with a significant increase in employees, revenue up 30%, payroll 27% in 2021 compared to other groups.
Wow.
So as a collective, Black businesses are thriving.
We are
thriving, man. So we want to keep pushing this needle, pushing this envelope, and taking the baton that, like Ebony said, the ancestors, they didn't wait. They went out there and made it happen. We've taken the baton from them. Let's see how far we can push it until it's time for us to pass it off.
And let's be resourceful. So sometimes the resourcefulness will beat out the resources.
Yes.
We've always been able to make a way. Like with Johnson Publishing Company. John Johnson started Johnson Publishing Company in 1942 with a $500 loan that he got using his mother's furniture as collateral.
Wow.
And we see
So she had an asset.
She had an asset.
He was able to borrow against that asset.
Against his mom's asset.
Against his mama's asset.
But with $500, and we see, Johnson Publishing Company, that's the company that published Ebony and Jet magazine.
That's what I was sitting here thinking, is that Ebony? Okay,
yeah.
So, I was sitting here thinking that. Go ahead.
So that is a perfect example of bootstrapping to entrepreneurship.
And basically, when you talk about bootstrapping, guys, what you're doing, you're trying to figure out, how do I get more with less? How do I get more with less? Meaning, how can I get more money, more output with less expenses, less input? And I want to give you two ways real quick before you go on to your next. Two ways that you can do that. One is through the technology and automation. We've actually dedicated entire episodes to that.
We did.
Technology, AI, and being able to automate certain things. When you automate these things, you don't have to pay somebody to do it. So that's a way you can get things going, and especially for systematic tasks. And again, it doesn't cost you as much as having to hire a person to sit there and do those things.
Right.
Like, I'm going to tell you one more thing too. Most companies today, you really don't find companies that pay people to answer phones anymore, like receptionists.
Right.
Companies don't need that. You need people in there producing, making things happen. You got auto attendants that can answer a phone, can press a button. We may not like it on the other end, but trust me, it makes that company more profitable. The second thing I give you as far as being able to do more with less is talent optimization. They may say, what's that? Well, this is where sometimes you don't always have to look outside of let's say you got, a handful of people working for you, or it may be more than that. But you got a new skill you need there at the company. Encourage somebody in the company to develop this skill and bring them into that position. Optimize what's there before you have to go outside the walls and spend more money, because they're going to bring with them the tribal knowledge they have for your company into that new position. So those are two ways, guys, that you can get more with less.
Also using networks. Use people that you know. Sometimes we may go straight to Google to find something when there's somebody that we know that can give us specific knowledge about it, and then we can decide whether it's something that requires paying an outside person or a contractor. And also, sometimes when we don't have capital, we have to use our time as currency.
Right.
But the goal and the theme is making it happen and doing it regardless.
What about creativity over capital? So what you want to do there, this is where you want to leverage your ingenuity, your innovation, strategic thinking to solve problems and drive growth. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you examples. You might have limited capital, but you need to get the message out about your company. Your capital may not allow you to flood the radio with ads, to flood TV with ads or whatever, but you can get creative using some guerrilla marketing techniques to create some very, very creative ads, to tap into social media where you can, to do things that doesn't cost as much but can give you a far reach. And I'm telling y'all, me and Ebony have been the king and queen of that.
Yes.
I have, I have a group of people maybe twice a year. I don't burn them up, but I say, hey guys, can you go share my last post? And again, I don't burn them up, but these are people who I know got significant following. And if it's a message I really want to get out there, in addition to boosting the post, I will text, hey, go to my page, share my last post. And they do it for me because I'll do it for them. And again, I don't burn them up. I don't, it's not every post I'm making. But this is a way to get messages out to various subgroups without spending a lot of money.
And sometimes you got to hit the pavement.
Oh,
you
have
to get out there. So we can't rely completely on digital and electronic means to communicate with people. People still do business with people.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So another way for using creativity over capital is actually going to talk to someone, going to meet someone, and it will come up what you do. That's part of natural conversation. So Sometimes you got to get out there.
There'll never be an excuse. There'll never be a substitute for two people sitting down, having a bite to eat, and seeing how we can do business together.
Exactly.
They'll never come up with AI will never. I don't care if they come up with full-fledged holograms. Is not going to replace that right there. Nothing. But I want to share a quick story. Talk about being creative over capital. I'm not going to say anything that would. So let's say this is not about me, right? But let's say there was a person who needed to get they was trying to get their message out about a fledgling financial planning company years ago, and didn't have the money to put ads in the newspaper. But if y'all remember back in the day, you used to pay a quarter, I think not like $1, and the whole newspaper thing would open up, right? So there was this person that would take flyers, get the whole stack of newspapers out, and just stick flyers in the newspaper, put all of them right back there where they came from, and then close it back up. And because they didn't have the money to pay, commercial appeal to run a whole bunch of ads.
Yeah, that is creativity over capital.
You had to get creative, man. Creativity over capital will win. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, ownership is the long game.
Okay.
And let's talk about why ownership even matters.
Mm-hmm. Ownership definitely matters, man. We talked about a little bit more just in real estate, but from a business perspective, it matters. For hundreds of years, people have discussed the power of ownership. Feelings of ownership are associated with high self-esteem. That drives your pro-social behavior. Moreover, our buy-in increases when we put our effort into something. Mm-hmm. And this is a message for, and I'm not just talking about, real estate, owning a business, but you need to own. We just talked about Johnson, how, his mother owned some furniture, they had to borrow against it. When you own something, that's why when you own something, there's a sense of pride that comes with that. Mm-hmm. That's why it's very rare, it's not impossible, but it's very rare to find a tenant that would treat your home the same way you would treat your home. Because there's a sense of pride in ownership. And the same thing happens when you own a business. If you've ever started a business or starting a business, I'm telling you, you have to give birth to that business. You give your blood, sweat, your life to this business, and then hopefully it will give it back to you at some point. But ownership is so important because when you own it, you're going to take better care of it, and it's going to reward you. So owning ideas, maybe you don't own a business. Maybe you own an idea. Mm-hmm.
That's intellectual property.
That's what I was about to say, intellectual property.
Which can be sold. There
you go, which has value. Maybe you've been working a job or career last 10, 15, 20 years. Do you know how much value that information is? I mean, how much information? It's so much value attached to what's in your head. You just have to figure out a way to package it up. It's yours. Mm-hmm. Package it up and sell it. Mm-hmm. But it has value, man. So ownership.
Sell the rights to it.
Yeah.
Selling the rights to it, it's still yours. You're just allowing someone else to use it.
Yep. But fear of failure, guys, is one of the top inhibitors. That fear keeps people from losing the fear of failure, the fear of losing personal savings, fear of what other people are going to say. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the next segment, I believe. But just know, if you're listening and you're kind of like, I ain't finna do all that, either you're lazy or you just have fear that's keeping you comfortable.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to talk about some of the some examples of ownership from back in the day to now.
Okay.
In the 17th century, as early as that, we were involved in the life insurance business.
Oh, wow.
So North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company was established in 1898, and it grossed $250,000 by 1910, and is now known as one of the oldest and most prominent black-owned life insurance companies in the U.S.
Wow. That's all right.
Another company was founded in 1810 by Joseph Randolph. That was the African Insurance Company. It was founded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is interesting because we know that Philadelphia was a hub for freed black people.
Absolutely.
In the 17th and 18th century.
So let me say this. So what we saw there is it became not only a hub for freed black people and free black people, it also became one of the earliest centers of black wealth because they were able to work and accumulate.
Exactly.
So you had a lot of early wealthy black people to come out of that part of the country.
Mm-hmm. And then, have you ever heard of Reginald Lewis?
No.
In the 80s, he became the first black-owned business owner to build a $1 billion company,
Wow.
TLC International Holding.
Now, do you know? Are we sure? Do we know what his industry was?
I don't.
We need to look that up.
Yeah, we'll find out.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so we've been doing this thing for a while.
Yeah, well, let me bring it on home some. You got, oh man, down here in the South, you got Robert Church, the South's first black millionaire. That's some Memphis history right there. You still got Church Park. Church Park, a lot of people may not know, but Church Park, there used to be an auditorium over there where where the park is today. And he built that because, other venues wouldn't open their doors to black entertainment. He built his own auditorium. You have Madam C.J. Walker, because most people know that name, Bob Johnson with BET, Berry Gordy with Motown, Alonzo Herndon, if I'm saying that name right, that's Atlanta Life Insurance, and Joseph Walker, right here in Memphis, again, founder of Universal Life Insurance, one of the founders of Tri-State Bank, I believe found also at Mississippi Boulevard Church, so the guy was on it, man. But you had black people making it happen.
Yes.
Just like you got black people right now making it happen. So don't ever think, y'all, that we can achieve. When left alone and without someone constantly trying to pull the rug out from under us, we find a way to make it happen. We find a way to get ahead. So, that's just an example of what has happened and talking a little bit about what is happening.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. I did find out that TLC Holdings Company is a conglomerate of multiple companies, but in '87 they bought out Beatrice Food Company.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
very interesting. Very interesting. Well, again, they built without access. So my question is, Ebony, we have some more access, not equal. Now the question is, what are we going to do with it?
Yes,
that's the question. What are we going to do with it?
And part of it in this ownership thing and starting black businesses, we really need our community.
Yeah.
When no one else will support us, our community will. And Booker T. Washington realized that. And so in 1900, he founded the National Negro Business League, which was later renamed the National Business League. And it supported black entrepreneurs to help them start and grow their business. And at one point, there were 600 chapters of that organization across the company because we knew that we needed our community, and community was the original venture capital.
Ain't that something?
It is.
Wow. I tell you what, let's pause right here. Let's get a commercial break in. But I want to remember that point because it's something I want to start the next segment off with. Guys, stay with us as we go through this last commercial break, talking about black businesses being built from scratch. Remember, guys, it's time to elevate.
Today's episode is sponsored by P3 Financial Group, where we enrich the lives of our clients by helping them plan, protect, and prosper. Call P3 for all your tax and financial planning needs at 901-209-4015. That's 901-209-4015.
Hey, Elevate fam. Are you a business or brand looking to get in front of an audience that's all about leveling up in life, business, and mindset? Then let's partner up. The Elevate podcast is now accepting sponsors. That means you can get your brand heard by a growing community of go-getters, creatives, and purpose-driven listeners right here on the show. Whether it's a product shout-out, an ad spot, or a custom collaboration, we've got options for you. Want in? Hit us up at elevatenowtraining.com. Let's elevate together.
And we are back, guys. You with Reginald and Ebony Clark on the Elevate podcast. And today we've been talking about black entrepreneurship, how black businesses were built from scratch with limited access and limited resources, but they found a way to make it happen. We had started a conversation topic that took my brain somewhere right before the last segment went off, and I want to jump back to that. And that's this right here. This is something that's really near and dear to my heart. I hear people say all the time, I gave a black business a chance. This black person or this black business messed me up. I'm never dealing with black businesses again. Every time I hear that, I just want to. Well, it takes me somewhere, because here's the thing. A good friend of mine shared this with me years ago, and he said, Reggie, black businesses are judged by their failures. Mm-hmm. White businesses are judged by their successes. And that's so true because here's what I've observed. You could be doing business with I'm going to just say a black plumber. That person could mess up, show up late or what have you. A person will swear off doing business with all black businesses.
Right. Not even all black plumbers, all black businesses,
period. They won't go to a black restaurant because this one black plumber messed their house up or showed up late. Mm-hmm. But people never say that. Mm-hmm. McDonald's can mess your order up 1,000,000 times. Mm-hmm. And you will never say, I'm done with white business.
Right.
You go right back in there every time. So our own people hold us to a different standard. Whether it's right or wrong. And the majority of my business is supported by us. So, I've done well for myself, and Ebony and I both have. But what I'm saying is apply the same logic across all businesses.
I actually had, it was in a business networking setting, and I had a debate with a lady because she said that she had hired or was looking to hire a painter to paint her house. And when the black painter came to her, she started asking for pictures of his work.
Right.
And she said, well, he didn't have any pictures of his work. I said, but when you got the quote from the white painter, did you ask him for pictures of his work?
I guarantee she did.
And she said no.
Right.
And I said, so why did you need pictures of his work, the black painter's work, but not the white painter's work? If you want pictures, get pictures from everybody.
There you go.
And then I also want to ask people to exercise grace. Mm-hmm. Just like if you are employed, you don't always get everything right. You mess up at work sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes a client relationship, it just don't go right. Sometimes it's just a multitude of things, and this situation, it just didn't end well.
Yeah.
Exercise a little grace, because most of the businesses that you're dealing with are experiencing these things that we've talked about: lack of capital, lack of staff, and they're doing the absolute best that they can. Now, if somebody is blatant and every encounter is wrong, that's another thing. But
right. I'm
just asking, look at it from a different perspective, because there are some things at your job that you mess up sometimes.
Right.
So allow somebody else a bump in the road.
There you go. But anyway, let's jump back. I had to get that off of my chest. And you know what? We're going to be talking about black entrepreneurship this whole month. So it's a good chance you might hear me say that again. But let's jump back. You were talking about community sometimes.
Yes.
Really a good segue with what you just said. Was the original venture capital. I think you had one more thing you wanted to share on that.
Yeah, sharing labor. So you may have the need for a position in your company, like social media or something like that, but you may not be able to afford to hire somebody full time. Mm-hmm. That is a perfect opportunity to partner with another business, or maybe two more businesses, and you all share resources to pay that one person full time.
Right.
So just, again, creativity over capital. Just look at ways that you can get what you need done. Mm-hmm. And if you can partner with your community, that's even better. I'll
give you another one. Say, and most people, well, you may or may not know, but your business may need a CFO. Mm-hmm. Someone to take all those financial decisions, the allocating of the money for the business off of you, so you can focus on what drives revenue. Mm-hmm. Well, you may not be able to afford a CFO by yourself, but you and two or three other businesses together can say, hey, let's collectively share the load and hire a CFO to do this whole thing for all of our companies.
Or contract with a fractional CFO.
There you go. So there are different ways that you can use community over venture capital.
And just remember, the bottom line is to support one another.
It is. Well, I want to say one more thing. In this on this piece right here. Mm-hmm. We have to do a better job of pooling our money together.
Yes.
To get to create business, to get something done. And this is not something that's has been ingrained in us, how to do it properly. You'll see a lot of, which I'm glad to see, a lot more of us moving into entrepreneurship, but typically it's by, I'm trying to make this happen, while another person's over there trying to make the same thing happen. And then there's another person doing the same thing. We got to figure out, it's really not figuring out because the blueprint is there. Pooling resources together, you can get a lot further. There's a saying that says, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. Mm-hmm. But if you want to go far, go with other people. Mm-hmm. Learn how to pool your capital together so you all can get to the same destination. and just get there better, faster, further, and with a lot more money in your pocket.
That's right. And to your point, a lot of times we do have 1 or 2 man shops.
Yep.
But that makes it very challenging to scale your business.
Extreme. We could do a whole episode on scaling. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes it very challenging.
So let's talk about So we talked from historical standpoint up back to the 1700s, us starting businesses, building them from scratch, being resourceful and creative. Let's talk about now. Like, what do you do now if you want to start a business? Well, or why do people delay in starting a business? Okay,
well, that's what I was about to say. What do you want to do now? Well, and again, this is who our podcast is, a lot of what we talk about is for people that want to start a business. First of all, you got to get your mind right. Mm-hmm. You have to get your mind, and I'm not talking about, get the rah-rah motivation. That helps. Just getting all pumped up and all that stuff, that helps. But it's some things you're going to have to get out of your mind. First thing you're going to have to get out of your mind is worrying about what somebody else is saying. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about it is, there are always going to be people that's going to talk. But the successful people will encourage you. The ones who sitting on the couch not doing anything with their life, those will be the ones that'll be picking apart every decision you're making. Every time you offer your service to them, that's going to be the person tearing it down. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know why we let that person influence us so much, but it happens. So
I saw a post today, and it was a day trip down to Birmingham to go to Papados and what was I about to say? And Buc-ee's. Okay. To go to Papados and Buc-ee's. And this person was chartering a bus. You can pay to get on the bus. You're going to hit those 2 destinations and come back. Do you know how many people had negative comments? Why do you want to go there? All you got to do is get in the car and drive yourself. It ain't for you.
Right.
This person is trying to do something positive, make money, and there are people who want to do that. There may be people who don't like to drive or never been there.
Or just want to be around some other people. So it's a social thing.
Social thing, exactly. Yeah. But those are the people that you need to block out.
You got to learn how to block those people out, and they're not going anywhere. Those people are going to be there. All right, you just got to be able to push through that. So getting past that. So getting past fear of what other people are talking about, then you got to get past the fear of failure. Mm-hmm. What if it don't work out? What if I lose my money? What if? Well, you know what, man? Look, whatever you're doing, there's a what if. Mm-hmm. What if FedEx go out of business, or what if wherever you work go out of business? All that can happen. But the bottom line is, you got one time to shine. On this side of eternity, you got to we don't get to the end of the road and be like, you know what, I wish I'd have done, let me go back and do it over. Mm-hmm. You don't have that, man. You got to get it while you can.
And you talked about the fear of failure. There's the fear of success.
Yeah.
You're afraid of what other people are going to say once you are successful. Mm-hmm. Again, all of that is just noise. There's the fear of looking unqualified.
Yep.
Well, if you do your best and do your due diligence and learn your craft, you're qualified.
Yep.
Don't worry about if somebody else doesn't think that you, or thinks that you don't know what you're talking about.
I want to speak to that from a personal experience. There was a time years ago, early 2000s, when I thought that used to hold me back, mm-hmm. because I always felt like there was financial information other advisors were giving their clients that I didn't know about, that I didn't have access to. And I always felt like, wow, they're over there with this company or they're with that company. And I always felt like, man, I wonder what it is there. Until one day I learned through training and mm-hmm. I'm like, I know my stuff. And that fear completely went away, mm-hmm. and it freed me up, man. So, if you study, like Eb said, you study your craft, you know what you know, man, look, just keep going.
And a plug, I like conferences because I just do. I like learning about different things, especially industry conferences from other people. Mm-hmm. But if you are feeling like that, all you need to do is go to an industry conference.
Yep.
And you'll see that the same or more than the other people in the room.
Yep.
You all are all in the same boat, but it's good to get perspectives of people doing the same thing that you're doing, but in other parts of the country. So a plug for industry conferences.
It is, absolutely. And what you find is that, enthusiasm, drive, getting up off your butt, making it happen, beats trying to paralysis by analysis every time. Mm-hmm. Perfectionism blocks elevation.
It does.
You're trying to make sure you got it perfect. You don't want to launch until everything is just right. And the whole time, somebody with half your knowledge, half your skill set, don't look the part, they out here making it happen because you over there on the sideline waiting on the double dutch rope to be just right before you jump in the game.
Mm-hmm. So Black business owners own over 3 million businesses and employ almost 1.2 million people. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, it's never too late. You can be in that number. Mm-hmm. You can be in that number. Some examples of people that started businesses, I know obviously the podcast is about people who are feeling burnt out in their mid-career, but some of the people that started successful businesses mid-career in their 40s or 50s, people like Sheila Johnson, she co-founded BET in her 40s.
All right.
Beatrice Dixon founded Honey Pot in her 40s after experiencing corporate burnout.
Okay.
She got tired, corporate America, she started Honey Pot. Even people like Kathy Hughes, who before getting ready for this podcast I hadn't heard of, she was 42 when she founded Radio One and built that into one of the largest Black-owned media companies. And she bet on Black audiences when other advertisers were overlooking them.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Janice Bryant Howard started Act One Group at 41 as a staffing agency.
Okay.
So it's never too late.
It's not too late, y'all. And the thing today that we hoping everybody taking with you is that you want to become the ancestor that future generations will be talking about. Mm-hmm. Today, you want to become that person, that business, that when they look back, they write the books 5, 10, 15, 100 years from now, they're mentioning your name because of what you had the courage to do or even attempt. Now he's not Black, but I always like to go to Colonel Sanders. Mm-hmm. He was in his 70s when he launched KFC. Mm-hmm. And he was literally told no 1,000 times by investors before he got the first yes.
Wow.
That's resilience. That's resilience, man. So you don't need everything lined up, guys. You need alignment, intention, and the courage to move forward. That's what you need.
Yes. So let's talk about some actionable steps. Where to start? Start with what you know, what you have, and who you know. Mm-hmm. Once you get that, now you can have a game plan. You may want to start a business, but you're like, what do I want to do? So start there. What you know, what you have, and who you know. Then we already talked about mindset shift, and then do research to figure out next steps or work with a consultant.
So, guys, as we wrap this episode up, and I'm going to tell you this, we're going to continue this conversation in different formats, different ways throughout the rest of Black History Month. But we want you to, of course, subscribe and to the podcast. I know many of you all are listening right now on Power 104.1. But others may be listening on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We want you to subscribe, and not just subscribe, but share it with somebody. Mm-hmm. Share it with a person that's been thinking about jumping out there. Share it with a person that's out there. Maybe it gives them that push to keep going. And we want you to start and share the thing that you've been considering. Go to our Elevate Podcast page on Facebook and let us know what's on your mind. Let us know how the community can support what it is you're doing. All right?
Yes.
And, we definitely want to give you ways to connect with us here at P3 Financial Group.
Yeah, you can reach us at 901-209-4015. You can reach me on social media at Eb the Advisor and Reggie at the Money Jedi.
I want to say this real quick as we sign off. Guys, this podcast is not something we have to do. Eb and I are completely busy running our financial planning and accounting practice. We do this as a way to give back, expand our message, expand our reach. But we're giving you a couple of decades of experience every Sunday that we drop in these episodes. So take advantage. And like Eb said, to reach out to us, you can find me. I'm at the Money Jedi, like Eb said. And again, one more time as we get off, the number to the office here is 901-209-4015. 4015. Guys, remember, it's time to elevate, and we'll talk to you soon.